Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got a gun on the table that I've been interested in since it came out, but there's just been something more important every time. It's the Iwi Masada chambered in 9mm. This isn't overly new. They've been out for a little around a year or so. And it's IWI's first polymer striker fired pistol. They've had polymer guns before in the Jericho series, but they're DASA hammer guns. This is their first entry into the striker-fired market, and they've come in with a vengeance. They've come in with actually a really good offering with a lot of features that you would expect to have on higher-end guns in this territory, and all of the features that pretty much all of them have today. So we'll kind of start with a quick tour of the gun. It has a 4-slot Picatinny rail, so you're really going to be able to put any accessory you want on it. It's got a squared-off trigger guard with serrations at the front for those that like to put their finger there, but it's big enough to put a glove in. It has a very nice striker-fired trigger. So it's about a 6-pound trigger, minimal take-up, kind of a short, smooth break. I don't want to say crisp because it doesn't really have a wall, but it's a very nice, smooth break, and it's repeatable. The reset is basically all the way out, but the overall trigger travel itself is short enough that it really doesn't make a difference. Just a hair of take up and you're back on what little wall there is, and then another smooth break. There's no stacking, no really bad behavior, it's just a nice break. Overall, I found the trigger very easy to use. It has front and rear serrations, and they're pretty aggressive, but they're not going to cut you up. The edges are just enough rounded that it doesn't tear into your fingers. And it's full ambi, slide stop, slide release on both sides. And when I take it apart, I'll show you that it's kind of the U-arm style that is really robust, as opposed to some of the ones that just have a simple arm that goes across. And it holds 17 rounds. Comes with 2 of these 17-round magazines. Now, if you happen to live in one of the more restrictive states, you can get 10-round version of this. It's the same basic magazine, but it's limited to 10 rounds. So you're not out of luck if you live in one of those less free states. It has a kind of a nice, somewhat sandpaper design, but it doesn't feel like sandpaper. It's grippy, but it doesn't abrade your skin. And it comes with 3 wraparound replaceable grips. You can see this line right along here. This whole thing, both sides, slides off and allows you to replace it with increasingly bigger palm swells and overall width. So you can customize this to your hand. And I did mention slide stop, slide release on both sides, so it's got all of the features that you would really want. Comes with very nice 3-dot sights. They're dovetail, so you can swap them out. And when I flipped it up a little bit, you saw a glance there, you might have seen some screw holes. Yes, it's optics ready. Now, the interesting thing about this one is they specify about 4 different red dots that are designed to work on this, and kind of warn you not to use others because it may cause damage, possibly over penetration of the screws. But the Trijicon RMR, the Vortex Venom, the Loophole Delta Point Pro, and the Sig Romeo 1 are all ones that they have included plates for and have certified that will work with this gun. And really, that's a good list. It's not 4 weird, odd, unknown brands. It's 4 really popular ones. I happen to like the Vortex Venoms and have had good luck with them. So if you do choose this pistol, it's going to come set up for what are really the biggest popular optics that are out there today. It does advertise one feature, that it has a low profile or low bore axis barrel. Now when you look at it, it really doesn't appear that it is, but I will tell you that recoil on this was almost non-existent, felt recoil. It really does control recoil exceedingly well. Got a little bit of cloth there from one of the patches. It really handled recoil well. It stayed very flat. So whether the bore axis really is any lower than any of the others, the overall design does control recoil. It was very comfortable to shoot, stayed very flat. It was easy to get good groups. The only thing I noticed on the sights is it's kind of a 12 o'clock hold on the sights. So it took me a few rounds to kind of zone in on the fact that I got a hold a little bit above the target. But once you do that, the gun is very consistent and very easy to get good, quick follow-up shots with. From a dimensional standpoint, it's 7.4 inches front to back. It's 5.5 inches tall with a flush magazine in it. And the flush magazine goes almost completely flush, kind of folds right in there. And it's between 1.07 measured at the slide out to 1.35 at the wings of the slide stop slide release. So it's right in the same rough width territories that you become popular with these polymer guns. A lot of times you'll see something like this compared to one of the various Glocks, and I happen to like Glocks and I've got a lot of them. So let me show you a comparison to this Walther PPQ from a size perspective. So this isn't going to be a shooting comparison, just kind of give you a size comparison. It's roughly the same overall length as a PPQ, and it's a little bit taller. I'm going to line it up so that it's at the back, and it's a little bit taller, but it does hold 2 more rounds. The PPQ holds 15. In the Glock territory, this would be somewhere between a 17 and a 19X. Let's see if I can get these flat and get them to stand upright. There we go. So I can pull my hands away so you can actually get a good view of the overall dimensions. So it's that little bit larger than compact, that X size gun that these kind of fit into. Overall, it's going to be easy to carry. If this is something you want to carry, it's going to be relatively easy to do. And everything is kind of blended or melted. So you've got a little bit of a bevel here, all the way including into the first part of the rail. Everything on the top is all rounded, and you'll see there's a bevel there. So it's designed to holster easily, and if any part of it's up against your body, it's not going to be an edge biting into your body. From a weight perspective, this comes in just about 23 ounces with an unloaded magazine. So it's about the same weight as all the other ones. And you'll notice that the curvature and everything is the same on both sides of the gun. Even the mag release is kind of rounded. So you're not going to have any edges sticking out that are going to bite into you or hang up while you're trying to holster or unholster it. Overall, it's a well-designed gun, which I would expect from IWI. I've got quite a few of their guns, especially in the Tavor series, and they do it right. Of course, when you're in a country where everybody around you is an enemy, you get good at building guns and you get good at doing it right because you really don't have any other option. Even in here, you'll see that there's a bit of a taper and bevel to make it comfortable for your finger on the trigger side and on the other side. So overall, it's just an easy, comfortable to hold gun. With an MSRP of around $480 and a street price around $500, they're accessible. The pricing on this is not exorbitant. And that's right now during the unavailability crisis that's going on. Under normal conditions, these were down in the $450, $460 territory, sometimes a little bit lower. So they're a reasonably priced gun for the quality you get. Maintenance and disassembly on these is easy. You lock it back, flip this lever. Now the only thing you do kind of have to do is you have to kind of coordinate pulling the trigger at the right point, but once you get good at it, it comes right apart. I'll set the slide aside for a moment, show you the internals of the frame. It's a very simple fire control group. It's just basically a pivot, and that's probably what accounts for the trigger being actually pretty nice. The rails of the frame itself are quite robust, and they stick up a little bit, you can see here. And then you've got kind of thick slide guides, similar to a Glock where they're just front and rear, and they're not overly large, but they're kind of a thick metal, so they're going to be durable. And the slide stop slide release is here, and it's kind of hard to see it, but there's an arm under there, and it's solid and robust all the way across. So you're not going to have a problem with one of them working and the other one not, like you do get with some of these designs where they just kind of put a flimsy sheet metal over to the other side. If you're a lefty and you're using the other one, it's going to work. So it's going to work reliably. On the slide, it has a single captive recoil spring. It's kind of the wafer style. The 4.1 inch barrel is well done, kind of a machine polished feed ramp, and it is polygonal rifling, which I'll show you with my little light over here to light up the barrel. And typical of polygonal rifling, it kind of looks just wavy, and that's the typical design of that type of rifling. And this rifle you find in Glocks and many of the other polymer guns, gives you a little bit better pressure and a little bit better stabilization of the bullet. Not surprisingly, everything is well machined as you would expect from IWI. There's the drop safety, so between the split trigger to prevent inertial pulls and the drop safety piston, this is a drop safe weapon. Real simple Not a whole lot extra going on there. A few lightening cuts to get the weight just right. But other than that, it's pretty simple design and pretty straightforward. Reassembly is as easy as taking it apart. Of course, it is easier if you're turning it towards your face. And then you just slide it back on. There you go. So, like a lot of the polymer guns, this one's easy to live with. No weird takedown procedures, no strange things you need to do. I did have one little issue with this gun that has rectified itself. But when we first got it to the range, we had taken some Cellar and Below 124 grain hollow points. Why did I have those? Because that's what I could get my hands on at one point when I was buying ammo, and I'm trying to kind of work my way through them. It wouldn't feed them. It wouldn't feed them, period. They would kind of jam up halfway into the barrel and stop. So I also had some Blazer Brass 115 grain with me. Loaded up a mag with that, and then it ran flawlessly. After about 100, 150 rounds or so, it was able to begin feeding the Cellar and Below. So I've had problems in the past with S&B, usually with primers, not with feeding. I tend not to use that particular ammo, but I would say that this may have a little ammo sensitivity in the very beginning, but once you get 100, 150 or so rounds into it, it'll run, and it'll run fine. When I fed this the Blazer Brass, I had zero problems with it whatsoever. That is a little unusual with a more full-size pistol to have a break-in period, but I guess I'm not going to worry about that too much because it did rectify itself within a single range session. And then since then, it just feeds that, and it feeds the various Federal Hydroshock and everything else that I like to use. So kind of to wrap up, I do like the gun. I really like shooting it. I found it very comfortable to shoot, very flat shooting. I would recommend it. I'm not worried at all about that little bit of issue with the S&B because with other ammo it ran flawlessly and that rectified itself. So overall, I would recommend this gun. I think it's a well done entry into that market by IWI. Now, unfortunately, they're coming into a very crowded market. The X size, like a 19X or 45 PPQ, that size gun, there's a whole lot of choices in that territory. These are a little harder to get a hold of, so I don't think these will ever take off like some of the others. But if you stumble across one and you're looking for a nice gun in that size territory, or just a nice to shoot gun for a range day, you really can't go wrong with this. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell to get notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, pretty much everywhere. Thank you.